game is just played. Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40! Can't wait! Let's go!
Good morning and welcome to Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show here on Sports Empire Network. So glad that you could be with me this morning. However it is that you are watching, whether it be live on Facebook, live on YouTube, or maybe you're over on Roku TV thanks to Northeast Streaming Sports. So happy that you can make Coffee and Sports part of your morning routine this morning. I am Chris. Mo is not here this morning, but don't worry. We will have a special guest. William will be here shortly to talk some NBA stuff. But let me start out with this. It's doom and gloom this morning if you are a fan of the Tennessee Titans. And I'm here to tell you it simply shouldn't feel that way. Let's take a step back, shall we? Let's take a step back to 2019 when Ryan Tannehill, quarterback of the Miami Dolphins, he was supposed to be the next thing in Miami. He was this wide receiver converted to quarterback that the Dolphins supposedly reached for, and he had moderate success as a Miami Dolphin. Never anything crazy, never anything over the top. The Dolphins are clearly ready to move on from Tannehill. He moves to Tennessee. He is the backup to Marcus Mariota. It looks like that is the next chapter for Ryan Tannehill. But Tennessee fans, you know that wasn't the case. His first season in Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill helped lead you to a conference championship game. You only had a 9-7 record, but towards the end of the season, Tannehill helped the offense take off. Tannehill helped stabilize the Tennessee Titans offense along with their rushing game, along with an above-average defense. And it led you all the way to a conference championship game in which some people thought you were going to knock off Tom Brady and go to a Super Bowl. It didn't happen, but that's okay, because what happened for the next couple of years? You were still relevant. 2020, you went 11-5. You made the playoffs again. 2021, you went 12-5, and you made the playoffs again, winning the division both of those seasons. You lost in the wild card round in 2020. You lost in the division round in 2021. Those were 3 years, 3 consecutive playoff appearances with Ryan Tannehill that I'm willing to bet, Tennessee fan, had I told you before you acquired Ryan Tannehill, if I said, listen, here's the deal. I'm going to get the Dolphins to trade you Ryan Tannehill. It's not going to cost you a bunch. It isn't going to be that big of a deal. You're going to get Tannehill. And he's eventually going to supplant Marcus Mariota as a starting quarterback, and he's going to lead you to 3 straight division playoff trips. How do you feel about that? Most of you would not have been on board. Most of you would not have seen that coming. Most of you would have not thought in your wildest dreams that was going to happen. Well, it did. And I hope the ride was fantastic, because as a Titan fan, even in the middle of the success of Ryan Tannehill, you should have known that it was going to be short-lived. Ryan Tannehill was never going to be the permanent answer for your franchise. He was always going to be a stopgap onto whatever was coming next. And Tennessee, to their credit, they did realize that. How do we know? Well, you drafted a quarterback. You drafted Malik. Is he your next franchise quarterback? I say no. But my point is, Tennessee realized Ryan Tannehill wasn't going to be their long-term answer for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Also, Tennessee, you also realized that Malik Willis might not be the guy. So what did you do? You went out and you drafted another quarterback in Will Levis. Is Will Levis the guy? I don't know. He hasn't played yet. We don't know what Will Levis is. We know what his college film says. We know what people coming that looked at him in college and people in the draft think he's going to be. Does anyone think he's going to be a home run? No. Can they be wrong? Absolutely. But the point is, Tennessee, you knew Malik Willis wasn't it. So what did you do? You went and you tried to fix it. And it's for that reason, Tennessee fan, as you wake up this morning and you see that King Henry is on the trade block, and you see that DeAndre Hopkins is on the trade block, and you've already traded away your Pro Bowl safety to the Philadelphia Eagles, who just keep getting richer somehow. You see that Tennessee has basically said, outside of Will Levis, the treasure trove is open. If you want something, come make an offer, and we'll see what we can do. I understand why you wake up this morning and you say the sky is falling. The organization is crumbling. But let me tell you, it's not. Because clearly you are working with a front office that identified the strengths of Ryan Tannehill. Let me tell you, outside of Miami who drafted Ryan Tannehill, there weren't many organizations out there saying, hey, we can build something around Ryan Tannehill. But your front office said, you know what? We think we can make this work. And more importantly, we think he might be and we have in Marcus Mariota. And not a lot of front offices do that either. They roll with what they have until the contract is up, and then they try to go find something new. And it was getting to that point with Marcus. But Tennessee said, no, we're going to hedge our bets. We know that Tannehill is available. What's the worst that could happen? Marcus plays well, and Tannehill is a backup. We can live with that. We know we need a quality backup quarterback. That's the way the league is going. So they made the move, and it came out aces for them. 2 division titles, 3 straight playoff appearances, a conference championship appearance. And then they said, you know what? 3 years into this, we know it's not going to last forever. We know that Ryan Tannehill isn't a 6 or 7 year solution. We need to draft the future. So they did, or so they thought they did with Malik Willis. Hasn't turned out that way, but at least they knew what they needed to do. And they aren't sitting here and trying to force Willis down your throats. They're not trying to make a square peg fit in a round hole. They acknowledged, hey, he might not be it. We have a chance to draft another quarterback. Let's go do that. And if Willis works out, great. Maybe we can trade Levis. If Willis doesn't work out, we have Levis in the building. Hopefully he will. And Tennessee, if Will Levis is a dumpster fire for the rest of this season, you should have faith that your organization will look at that and say, you know what? We need to go do something else. And who knows what that something else is? Maybe that something else is bringing in a Kirk Cousins. Maybe that something else is finding a way to trade up in the draft, because if he is a dumpster fire, you might be close enough to either draft a quarterback on your own draft pick merit, or you might be close enough to pull off a move to get one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks who are going to be in the draft this season. But Tennessee fans, do not wake up this morning and complain that your team is about to move off of a 30-year-old wide receiver, a 30-year-old running back, and you're about to enter a rebuild where you think your team is going to be terrible, because this is what happens to NFL teams. The NFL is secular in this way. But unfortunately, what often happens with NFL teams is that teams start to change when it's too late. King Henry still has a couple of good years left. Is he worth a 4 or 5 year contract? Absolutely not. Is he worth trading to a team that thinks they can win a championship this year or next year? Yes, he is. So bravo to Tennessee for realizing that if they're going to move off King Henry anyways, let's move off of him while he still has value to somebody else. Let's move off of him this season by the trade deadline to a team who thinks they're a running back away when he still has value. Because if we're not going to re-sign him in the offseason, why let him walk for nothing? If someone out there thinks that DeAndre Hopkins can be a solid second or third receiver because they already have a great number 1 and they're trying to round out the receiver room for a playoff push, let's give that to them. Let's get some draft capital. Let's get some pieces that we can build around, because Tennessee, you know where you're going. You are about to enter the Will Levis phase, and you are about to see whether or not the quarterback that you took after the failure of Malik Willis is the guy. And you know what? Maybe he will be the guy. Maybe he won't be the guy. Because let's be honest, when it comes to drafting quarterbacks in the first round, it's about a 50-50 proposition. If you take a look back the last 20 years at first round draft picks, and you look at the ones that are truly, and I mean truly franchise quarterbacks, I don't mean ones that are still in the league today. I don't even mean quarterbacks that are still starting in the league today. Baker Mayfield is still a starting quarterback in the NFL today. Is he a franchise quarterback? If you say yes, you've lost your damn mind, because he's not a franchise quarterback. He is good enough to be a starting quarterback. But when you're on your third or fourth team, you cannot call yourself a franchise quarterback. That is what the first round is for NFL quarterbacks. It is at best a 50-50 proposition. You're going to fail at times. They failed with Malik Willis. Will they fail with Will Levis? I don't know. But if you're a Tennessee fan, you shouldn't care. Because the point is, your organization is doing what they need to do to put your team in a spot to be successful in the future. And there are plenty of organizations out there right now that are not doing that for their fan bases. Look around the NFL, Tennessee fan. You want to be in the Raiders situation right now? You want to be in the Chargers situation, stuck with a head coach who apparently cannot coach and has proven the past 2 seasons he cannot coach? But they don't want to make that change, do they? No, they don't want to rock the boat. Tennessee, you don't care if you rock the boat. You brought Tannehill over when Mariota was still here. Did it probably piss off Marcus Mariota? Now that we've learned a little more about his personality, seeing him do some reality shows, yeah, it probably pissed him off. You didn't care. When you brought Malik Willis in, it pissed off Ryan Tannehill. We know he made comments about it. He said it wasn't his job to train the person who was going to take over for him. That's how Ryan Tannehill should have felt at the time. He was in the midst of bringing you to the playoffs 3 consecutive times. He felt like it was his job for the foreseeable future. But you knew it wasn't. And that is why, Tennessee fan, you should be happy this morning. Because your franchise is setting you up for future success. Now, will it be a quick turnaround? Depends on Will Levis. And if it's not Will Levis, it depends on what plan C is. But the fact of the matter is, the fact that your franchise is willing to make these swings and is willing to move off of people and is willing to adjust when they think the time is right, that should be enough to comfort you through the bumpy road that is going to be the rest of this season and potentially next season. But Tennessee fan, do not wake up this morning angry. Do not wake up like the sky is falling, because it simply is not. Speaking of Derrick Henry, obviously Derrick Henry, if he is on the trade block, you have to ask yourself what teams could potentially be out there competing for the services of Derrick Henry. And for me, you want to move him to a contender. And I know we've talked about this before on the morning show. I've gone to battle with Freddie about this topic and what's good for business, what's good for the player, loyalty to the player. Do they deserve to go to a good spot when they move on? This isn't that situation. Derrick Henry didn't come in there and demand a trade. He's not trying to get out of Tennessee. You're changing your plans. When an organization changes their plans, not because of a player, just because of the direction the team is moving in, I do find value in the organization saying, you know what, King Henry, you did right by us. We're not going to send you to the Browns. We're not going to send you to another 1-5 team that I can't think of off the top of my head right now. We're not going to do that. And I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to try to put him in a decent spot with a team that is potentially going to contend for a playoff spot. Because let's be honest, King Henry is a free agent at the end of the season. He can go wherever the hell he wants to go. So if you send him to Buffalo, for example, and it makes Buffalo's offense spectacular, he may not re-sign in Buffalo. But you know what? You gave him a chance to be part of a playoff run. Something he can't do in Tennessee. Something he's going to look back and say, damn, they took care of me. And who knows? Maybe he comes back to you. Maybe King Henry says, you know what? I'll come back to you on a discount. I don't think he would. But that door is going to be open because of the way you treated him on the way out. So where do I think King Henry should go? I think Buffalo is a great option for Henry. I think Baltimore is a great option for Henry. Those are two teams that don't have stable running back situations, but they do have playoff aspirations. I think Henry will be great in Buffalo because you need something. You need a star on that team that isn't named Stephon Diggs. And I'm sorry, but there ain't anything else happening on that team right now besides Stephon Diggs. And until there is, it's going to be the freaking Stephon Diggs show. Because if you look at that Buffalo game last week, when things weren't going well, where was Josh Allen trying to force the damn ball to Stephon Diggs? And you know what, Stephon Diggs? You dropped the ball at the end of the game. I know no one's talking about it, but I'm going to talk about it. You were open. You were open. He put the ball into your chest, and you dropped it. Now, were you going to win that game if you caught that ball? Probably not. But it was going to set up a pass in the end zone at the end of the game that didn't happen because you didn't catch the ball. Oh, but we're not going to talk about that, though, because at that point, the game was lost, right? No. You put King Henry in Buffalo, and now you have a legitimate threat at the running back position. But more importantly, you have respect at the running back position. This is no disrespect to James Cook, but I'm sorry, you don't have a voice in the room when you got someone like Stephon Diggs on your offense saying, I'm open 24/7, feed me the damn ball. There's only so much James Cook can do. You put King Henry in there, now we have a different situation. And I think that's what Buffalo needs. And I think Josh Allen needs that. I think Josh Allen needs someone else he can turn to besides Stephon Diggs and not have to worry about Diggs coming up the backside complaining about it. I think he would look great in Baltimore. Keep Lamar from running around so much. Lamar is finally getting into the groove of his receivers. A big back like Derrick Henry, that offensive line's good enough in Baltimore. Henry can make some noise in Baltimore. Look at the backs Baltimore's had to run with the past 3 seasons because they can't keep any of their backs healthy. And some of those backs who are middle-of-the-road running backs have found success. So you're telling me Derrick Henry couldn't find success? How about Tampa Bay? This Baker Mayfield train isn't going to last forever, Tampa. Wouldn't it be nice to have Derrick Henry for half a season? Solidify your running game? So Tom Brady needed. When Tom Brady went down there, he needed a bruiser at running back. He got one. It could help Baker. There are plenty of spots that Derrick Henry could go to before the trade deadline, and everybody would be happy about it. Tennessee's going to get a decent pick out of it. It's not going to be a 1 or a 2 or a 3. Probably wouldn't even be a 4. Maybe a 5, conditional 5. That could be a 4 depending on playing time. But the point is, Tennessee has realized where they are today. They're not afraid of it. They're okay with it. They're embracing it. And I really hope that Tennessee fans can do the same. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to have William on the show. He is going to break down everything that took place in the NBA last night. It was opening night for the National Basketball Association, and some of the league's biggest teams and biggest stars were in the spotlight last night, but it didn't go great for everyone. We know it's only one game, but William's going to come in here and he's going to break down what he saw in both games last night. Plus, we have a few other NBA topics to hit, like the beard, James Harden. What the heck's going on with that guy? The season is underway. Will he be traded? Won't he be traded? The saga continues. That's coming up on the other side of the break. Stay here with us. It's Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show here on Sports Empire Network.
Hey guys, it's Pavel the Cat.
And Evan Rev Reynolds.
And we are Two Guys in Hockey Talk. We are here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time to talk all things hockey. What are we talking about, Evan?
We talk KHL, AHL, ETHL, every HL hockey league you can think about, prospects, juniors, even the Professional Women's Hockey League.
Yeah, we love it. And we have a website, Two Guys in Hockey Talk. So give us a follow. We got articles on all things related to hockey, and we're writing all throughout the season. So make sure you tune in. We're also on X or Twitter. You can find me at hockey_2, and
you can follow me at RevanEv. Or you can also go to twoguyandhockeytalk.com to follow everything.
We love hearing from you guys, so make sure you tune in, comment, like, give us a follow on our Facebook and YouTube page. We love hearing from you guys, and it's a blast talking all things hockey. Right, Evan?
Hey, man, it is. So, as we say every show, in the meantime and in between time,
keep your sticks on the ice. Cheers.
Cheers.
Good morning and welcome back to Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show. I am Chris, and we are joined now by William Morgan. William, how are you this morning, sir?
How you doing, my friend? Thank you for having me on. I do appreciate it.
Always love having you on the show here, Will. Let's talk a little NBA basketball. The league opens up last night, and the NBA, their schedule makers know what they're doing. They put those 4 teams, the Nuggets, the Lakers, the Suns, and the Warriors, on the opening night schedule for a reason. Those are 4 teams that fans want to see. Whether you love them or you hate them, you want to kind of see what they have going on to open up the season. So let's start with the Suns and the Warriors, and we'll get to the champs in a little bit. So coming into this, obviously, the Suns, they got Bradley Beal. You were curious. There was questions going into the game whether or not he was going to play. You were curious how healthy Durant was. You were curious what the offense would look like on the Phoenix side of things. And then on the other side with the Warriors, obviously the biggest question was Chris Paul. We knew that Draymond wasn't going to play tonight or last night. We knew he's dealing with his injury. So there was questions of whether or not we were going to see Chris Paul start because Draymond wasn't going to be there. Were they going to keep him off the bench and kind of solidify whatever that bench role looks like? What the heck was Chris Paul in general going to look like running with that team out there? Mm-hmm. We had the added layer of Klay Thompson finding out he isn't getting a deal, at least not this season, with the Warriors. What was he going to look like? So we'll start with the Warriors. What did you see from Golden State? What did you see from Chris Paul? Because this was a back and forth game, and it was filled with momentum swings. Phoenix took a huge lead going into the half, and the Warriors came right back out and punched them in the face in the third quarter. And then Golden State faded a little bit in the fourth, tried to make a run at the end, fell a little bit short. But this game was huge momentum swings and huge stretches of offense by one team and no offense by the other team. And again, I get it. It's opening night. They're still figuring things out. But talk to me about the Warriors and what you saw from them last night.
I was sort of kind of disappointed in this game, and the fact, as you said earlier, we didn't have Bill, we didn't have Draymond. I was a little disappointed in that because I kind of want to see these two teams at full strength. I was disappointed in Chris Paul because all the 6 threes he jacked up and didn't hit any. I thought we was going to see him more run the offense, the traditional style when he got out there, when he took the floor. Golden State has to work on half court defense. They were being just rotated all night by Phoenix last night. I thought KD played okay. He wasn't playing up to his star potential with only 18. Yes, and again, Golden State, they did make a big run in the third, but after that they ran out of gas. And I was like I said, I was just disappointed because I was hoping both teams would come in at full strength to give us everything that they had. Booker played okay, Nurkic played okay, but I was just disappointed because of the fact it was a car wash with Golden State last night. You just able in, rotate out, whatever they wanted to do on offense, they were able to do. So I was sort of kind of defensive, sort of kind of upset with that performance. And again, this was that both teams weren't at full strength.
If you look at the Phoenix side of things, going into half, if you were a Suns fan, you felt great. It was close in the first quarter. Phoenix definitely asserted themselves on the offensive side, taking advantage of the fact that Golden State struggled on defense in the half court in that second quarter. So going into half, you feel great. But then you come out of the half, and it's like Phoenix forgot how to play offense, because for the majority of the third quarter, they couldn't get anything as far as a rhythm goes on the offensive side. Golden State comes all the way back. I think they pushed the lead to 6 or 7 at one point in the third quarter.
Yep.
Will, what do you think happened in the third quarter for the Suns? And we saw this. If you look at the Golden State dynasty, in their heyday, they would do this all the time. They would jump out to huge leads, and then they would evaporate. And this was a regular, consistent thing with the Warriors. And with them, it wasn't that big of a deal because they could go from up by 12, down by 8 to up by 12 again in a matter of 6 or 7 minutes on the floor. So, at the end of the day, it happens so often. Warriors fans got used to it. But Will, that's not a sustainable way to play basketball.
No, it's not. It's not, and it's not a consistent way they play basketball either. And let's not forget, they scored 33 in that second quarter compared to Golden State's 18. So they got like a days to go in the fact of, we got it. We're gonna win this game. We're gonna cruise to victory. No, this is the Golden State Warriors you're talking about. That third quarter, you should expect a run, and that's exactly what they got, was a run. But then they was able to get themselves together in the fourth and outscore those boys 28-18 in that final quarter. So again, Golden State, you got to get better on and I know Looney was in there, but you got to get better on defense, because Phoenix was pretty much just getting whatever they wanted. Now, that third quarter was a bad quarter for them, but they got anything that they wanted. Golden State has got to get better on defense. And Chris Paul, stop jacking up threes. You are not Steph Curry. You are not Klay Thompson. Stop it. Just stop it. Go back to what you do, and that's being the point guard. That's what you do. That's what you need to do. Stop jacking up threes. What number? Maybe out of all those 6 shots, maybe one was close.
Yeah.
One. Come on now.
Now, looking at the other game last night.
Yeah, Gene, I agree with you, Gene. I agree with you. He could be the leader that Golden State needs. He can, but he also has to lead by example. And putting up bad shots is not the way to be a leader.
Not at all. So going into the Lakers-Nuggets game, I would argue it was bigger for the Lakers than it was the Nuggets, because the last time we saw these two teams play, the Nuggets rolled them, and it wasn't very competitive. And if you're the Lakers, if you go out and you lose this game, now we lost five in a row to this team. They're clearly better than us. So for me, going into this game, if it was going to benefit one team more, because let's be honest, Will, the first game of the season, win or lose, it is what it is. But if it was going to be more important for one of those two teams, it's more important for the Lakers, because you just don't want the narrative of, we've lost 5 times in a row to this team, we can't beat them. If you're the Nuggets and you lose, you're still champions, baby. It is what it is. It's a long season. Who cares?
Still world champs.
But the Lakers go in, they don't get the W. So they do have that on their back of, well, we've lost 5 in a row to this team. What did you see from the Lakers last night as compared to what we saw in the playoffs last season? Much of the same, because the Lakers were crowned off-season champions, right? They went out and they made all these. If you ask Freddie about it, they made all these incredible. They made all these incredible moves.
Better come in, Freddie. Better tag in, Freddie.
If you ask a normal basketball fan, they took care of business. They went out and they made logical moves to make their team better, right? But what did you see last night compared to what we saw in the playoffs? And then what did you think of the Lakers' opening performance overall?
This is supposed to be Anthony Davis's team. It's supposed to be his team. And for him not to score a single point in that second half last night, that's just ridiculous. That if you're not going to give effort, and see, the thing that makes me mad about Anthony Davis, if he wasn't talking over the summer, I got you. But he was talking over the summer. This is personal. This is personal. This is personal for me. I got to go out there and do better. Well, scoring 0 points in the second half ain't doing better. And for once, the other thing I saw, you can't blame LeBron for this. You can't, because Bron went out there, he played a normal game, he scored 21 points. He played a normal game, trying to get everybody involved. Prince played a very good game last night, 18 points. He played a very good game last night. I like what he did. Austin Reeves played okay. D'Angelo Russell, what's your excuse? Bruce Brown is gone. You don't have any 11 points. 11 points. And again, you see the Nuggets depth being better than what the Lakers can put out there. You see that. What did Freddie say? It's game 1? It don't matter. It don't matter. You lost. An L is an L, no matter what game it is. An L is an L. And then the thing you got to question too, Darvin Ham, is he a good coach? Because I'm starting to question that. After what I saw last night.
Is he the coach?
Exactly.
I mean, let's ask the fair question. What is LeBron doing on that team? Because this has always kind of been the trend with LeBron James, is when he has coaches in there that he likes, who's really coaching the team? Is it LeBron that's moving the needle, or is it the coach that's actually coaching? And I think that's a fair question to ask with Ham.
And see, the thing with me, you got LeBron on it. You monitoring his minutes for what? If LeBron is able to go and he tells you he can go, you listen to your superstar play. You leave him out there for as long as he can play. It's year 21. We have to monitor his minutes. No. As long as that man don't need to be pulled out, you let that man stay in there. But I just thought Jamal Murray played well with 21 points. Again, a total team effort last night from Denver. Jokic just went out there and did his thing. It was an amazing performance for him. But AD, man, that's the thing that you have to talk about, because AD is supposed to be that dude. I put a Facebook post up last night. I don't know if Freddie saw it or not, but I don't think AD wants it. I think he got that one bubble championship, and that's it. I don't think he wants it, because since he won that bubble championship, where's he been? You saw him last year in the playoff series, slack off. And now you seen in this game, gives you nothing in the second half. Nothing. So
I know Freddie's in the chat and he's upset because it's only game one. And, Will and I opened this segment by saying it's only game one.
mm-hmm.
Game one doesn't literally mean much in the bigger picture. But the point is, you take little things from games in the NBA season and you look to see if they repeat themselves. And this is a valid observation when it comes to Anthony Davis. This isn't the first time Anthony Davis has disappeared in the second half or the first half or quarters of a big game. And when you are a team that has playoff aspirations and championship aspirations, and you're in a marquee matchup with another team that has championship aspirations, more eyeballs are on the TV screen, more viewers are tuning in, and that is the moment when the stars are supposed to shine. So, Will, I don't discredit your point at all, because it's these types of games. If Anthony Davis wants to take the second half off on a Wednesday night or a Thursday night in Charlotte, by all means, Anthony Davis, take the second half off. Be a no-show in that kind of game. But on this stage, when you're playing a team, the defending champions, and you're trying to open your season and make a statement, make a damn statement. Because the statement that you made last night isn't anything that you want people to be talking about moving forward. And Freddie's in the chat right now saying that this game was bigger for the Nuggets. Freddie, I don't know what you had. I don't know what you had in your coffee this morning, my guy, but it 100% was not. When
What's
a
in
team,
our coffee cup, Freddie? What you
when a
drinking this
team
morning?
rolls you 4 in a row, it's not bigger for them.
No, it's
Bigger
not.
for you. You can't beat them.
You needed last night to be that statement game. Hey, you got to watch out for us. We don't have to watch out for you. That was the thing you needed to do last night, and they did not do it. You didn't do it. Don't sit here and give me, the problem is chemistry. No, you had a whole preseason together. You had a whole training camp together. So don't sit here and tell me it's chemistry. No, it's not chemistry. It's not. You need to go out there and make that statement. You need to tell AD need to show Joker, hey, all year, you got to deal with me. You got to see me and deal with me. And now this is another part of AD that you have to worry about, because we all mess with him in the memes about getting hurt and being carried out in a wheelchair. We got all the memes toward his health situation. But now you got to worry about the Zach Levine disease in terms of being consistent. Now you have to worry about that as well. Again, last night was a travesty, and it was more important for the Lakers to put their stamp on this game, because if he would have won this game, A, it would have showed that you have to deal with us, and B, we beat you at home. We beat you at home. We know we can beat you in our place. But last night, if they would have won, we beat you in your place.
Another team that is getting ready to start their NBA season that has a lot of questions around them is the Philadelphia 76ers. Will James Harden be there? Will James Harden not be there? Will Joel Embiid be traded to the New York Knicks? If you are a 76ers fan, you have a lot going on in your organization, but you don't have a lot of answers. Well, what we do have, though, is we have a little bit of clarity coming from the Clippers side. And this is interesting because the Clippers have been relatively quiet about the James Harden situation the entire offseason. But now things are trickling out from Los Angeles about how they do want James Harden. They do prefer James Harden over Brogdon, who they almost got in the offseason in a trade. They prefer Harden over him. They are apparently willing to offer an unprotected pick. So now we're getting an idea of what they kind of value James Harden as. So if you're Harden, this is good news because now maybe he already knew they wanted him. Maybe he already had this information, but now it's going into the public. So that benefits you. That gets the train moving in your direction. That also benefits the Sixers because now juice is picking up. Maybe something can finally get going when it comes to James Harden. But, Will, I'm not going to ask you about that side. What I'm going to ask you is this. What does this actually say about the Clippers? Because supposedly your guys are healthy. Kawhi is supposedly ready to go. Paul George is supposedly ready to go. You don't have a lot left in the treasure trove. But it looks like what you do have left, you're willing to kind of push it into the middle for James Harden. You did that a couple of years ago when you put together this team with Kawhi and Paul George. It hasn't gone the way you wanted it to go. And now you're ready to take what little you have left to put it in the middle. Is this a move that is going to get the Clippers to where they want to get to? Or is this just the last desperation oomph because they got no other move to make?
I think it's desperation. Because Brogdon is a solid player. He's someone that you can win with. But I think it's just a splash move. Only time I root for the Clippers when they play the Lakers, and if they beat the Lakers, I'm happy. But however, I just think this is a splash move. I think this is the only thing that this is. But it'd be funny though, because if they do get Harden, and miraculously no one gets hurt, that's just a miracle. Because every year one or both are hurt. Then you manage to pull this trade off, and both those boys played a whole year. So what does that tell you? You want this big name. We want somebody to ride with us as a third wing, our big three. I don't think it works out the way they think it will, because you're giving up a lot of that depth to get James Harden on that team. And we've seen in the playoffs, depth is important. And I just don't think it'll work out for them the way they think it's going to work out.
And then, well, the last big, there's plenty of big storylines coming into the season, but from a league stance, one of the biggest storylines coming into this season was the rules when it comes to load management, which is now a buzzword in the NBA.
Yeah, it is.
The rules when it comes to resting your stars. People are on both sides of it, but regardless of what side of it you're on, the NBA has instituted a new policy when it comes to that. So, well, my question to you is this. When it's all said and done, when we hit the playoffs in the summer, are we going to be looking back at this season and being like, damn, those new rules had this impact? Or are we not even going to be talking about it because at the end of the day, it isn't really going to impact the game at all?
I don't think it really impacts the game at all. I call this the Kawhi Leonard rule, or you can call it the Greg Popovich rule, whatever you want to call it. It's because of one of them. Which one you pick is up to you. But, San Antonio and Kawhi really made load management this thing that just blew it out of proportion. And I really think it won't be anything because I think at the end of the day, Kawhi knows he has to play. And now that they're in the run for Harden, he won't be. And if they actually pick him up, he won't take any load management days off. He might take one or two, but it won't be enough to make a difference. He'll be all pumped up, rejuvenized, ready to go. Oh, we got Harden. Well, it's not going to lead to what you think it's going to lead to. And Freddie said he on the way. Freddie said he on the way. So
Freddie did say he is on the way, but we'll have to save that for another morning. Will, I appreciate you being on this morning, sir. Love the NBA knowledge. Thank you so much for joining us on the morning show, and we will see you next time.
Hey, not a problem. Thanks for having me on, guys. Y'all have a great day. Have a great week. See you on Wednesday.
Always a pleasure having Will here on the morning show with us. What we're going to do right now is we're going to take a quick break here on Coffee and Sports. On the other side of the break, we're going to dive into some more NFL content. Make sure that you stay right where you are. Don't leave us. We'll be right back after this break. It's Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show here on Sports Empire Network.
What's up, everybody? It's Cottrell Simpson with Wire to Wire Sports Podcast, where we're going to cover all things breaking news sports related. We're going to preview games, and we're also going to give you our reaction to the games that have happened before. You can catch us on Wednesdays from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And if you miss us there, no worries. You can also catch us on Roku with Northeast Streaming Sports Productions from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Hey, and listen, if you're not into all sports and just NFL, we have Sideline to Sideline. That's on Thursday nights from 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 8 p.m. We'll break down the NFL week, the Thursday night game, and we'll preview all NFL action.
And if you're like me and college football is your fix, tune in every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for Coast to Coast College Football pregame show. We'll review the previous week's action, the day's biggest games. We'll give you our pick'ems, and we'll even give you some teams that are on upset alert.
And if you don't catch us live, you can download us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to your podcast. We do also have a YouTube station, Wire to Wire Sports Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
Welcome back. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show here on Sports Empire Network. I am Chris. Mo has the morning off, but that is okay. Let's talk a little bit about what took place last night in Major League Baseball. JG was on the morning show yesterday, and we broached the subject. I said to him, if the Phillies lose this series, and I'll be honest, I didn't think they were going to lose last night. I did pick Philly to win. If the Phillies were to lose this series, what does it say for them? What does it say for their season as a whole? And my opinion yesterday was that if the Phillies lose, this is a disappointment. This is almost a failure of a season in the sense of you weren't supposed to lose this series. Once you beat the Braves, once you assert your dominance against the best team in baseball 2 seasons in a row, you should have been a lock to get to the World Series. Then once you get to the World Series, all bets are off. Obviously, you want to win the World Series, but if you lose the World Series 2 years in a row, the narrative is you just need to get over the hump to win the World Series. The fact that you don't get to the World Series, that's an issue. And Philly fans, I'm sure you're disappointed this morning. I'm sure you're upset this morning, as you should be. Because let's be honest, I don't care how... I'm not even saying Philly fans are unrealistic. I don't think there were many people in baseball that gave the Diamondbacks a chance to win 2 games of that series, much less 4. I don't think there's anyone in baseball that honestly thought once the Phillies went up 3-2 and took that 3rd game in Arizona that the Diamondbacks were even going to win 1 game when they came back to Philly, much less 2. I take my hat off to the Arizona Diamondbacks because they played great baseball. I take my hat off to the fans of the Arizona Diamondbacks because every angle that you look at this series, this is what sports is all about. This was a true upset. Nobody thought coming after the dismantling, let's be honest, they dismantled the Braves, and they did it 2 years in a row. No one thought coming out of that series and going into this series with the Arizona Diamondbacks, who many didn't think were going to get past the Dodgers, despite the Dodgers limping into the playoffs with their pitching woes and their injury concerns over there. Despite them getting past the Dodgers, not many people gave the Diamondbacks a puncher's chance in this series. And they not only delivered after going down 0-2, they were able to pull it out in the end, winning 4 out of 5, and that is absolutely incredible. Now, what does that mean going into the World Series? Who knows? This could be a situation where Arizona rides that wave and they take it out on Texas and they keep it going. It could also be a situation where this team simply runs out of gas and they end up losing in 4 or 5 games to the Rangers. But the point is, what a story the Arizona Diamondbacks are this morning. What a great sports moment that was if you are a fan of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And if you are a fan of the Phillies, it was a good season. It had a lot of ups, but this is going to hurt. This is going to hurt, and this is going to sting all the way into the offseason. And unfortunately, when you are a team like the Phillies, who has had playoff success, or you're any team that has World Series aspirations, the only way to redeem yourself is to wait for the playoffs next season. So it's going to be a long process to have a chance to kind of right this wrong in the minds of Philly fans. You're going to have to get through all of next season. You're going to have to get yourself back into the playoffs, which I don't think is going to be an issue for the Phillies. They are a good team. But to get over this, you're going to have to get yourself back into the playoffs next season, and you're going to have the playoff success that you should have had this season. The playoff success that you did have against the Atlanta Braves, but for some reason, you couldn't get the job done against the Arizona Diamondbacks. If you are a Texas Rangers fan this morning, what a nice bounce back for you guys. Didn't win the division. Many people didn't think you were going to pull it out with Houston. They thought you had a better chance than the Diamondbacks did, but here you are. Two great franchises who haven't had a lot of success recently. And if you're Arizona, you haven't had a ton of success in your franchise history. Yes, you do have a World Series win in there against the New York Yankees, my New York Yankees. But what a great story for both of these franchises. What a great moment and opportunity for both of these fan bases. And will the World Series pull good ratings? Probably not. These are not two huge market teams. I think it would have been a better rated World Series had the Phillies gotten in there. The Phillies are a bigger market. They have a superstar in Bryce Harper. I think that it would have moved the needle a little more. But it doesn't take away from what Arizona and Texas have accomplished. And it doesn't take away from the fact that I think this is going to be a good series. Let's wrap up today with some NFL stuff. As we transition back to the NFL, the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, Jim Irsay, who always has something to say, he came out yesterday and he has a genius idea. Jim Irsay believes that the NFL should change their rules so that every play within the last 2 minutes of a game can be reviewed. Of course, this comes on the heels of the last 2 or 3 weeks of the NFL where there have been a series of questionable calls late in games that potentially have impacted the outcome of a game. This also comes on the heels of a series of calls over the past couple of weeks late in games that the NFL has actually said were not called properly. On paper, Jim Irsay has a terrific idea. On paper, it makes sense for you to have an opportunity in the last 2 minutes of the game when the game is on the line to get the call right. On paper, I love this idea. But Jim Irsay, we have already basically seen this. We saw this a couple of seasons ago when people were allowed to challenge things like pass interference. And how did that turn out? Sometimes it turned out great. Other times, you were left in the same situation that you're left in today. You watch an NFL game, you see a flag for pass interference, you see the replay, you don't think it's pass interference. The announcers on TV think it is. They throw it to the rules analyst who says he doesn't think it's pass interference, but it was still called pass interference. And we saw that a few seasons ago when pass interference was reviewable, and you had the same thing. The announcers thought one thing, the rules analyst thought something else, and then the official called it opposite of that. Those things would still happen if Jim Irsay's idea went into effect. Would it help at times? Absolutely. Would it change the game to the point where now in the last 2 minutes, bad calls are not impacting a game? No, it would not. Because at the end of the day, things like pass interference are still basically a judgment call. Somebody is still looking at that play and they're deciding based on what they see whether or not they feel the defender somehow impeded the receiver from being able to catch a ball. And then you take other factors into consideration. Was the pass catchable? We see this all the time. Flags are thrown in the end zone for pass interference, and right away, one team is screaming the pass wasn't catchable. What are the parameters for a catchable pass? We've seen receivers do incredible things in the back corner of an end zone going up to get a ball that we thought was over their head, but they were able to pull it in. or they were able to get a hand on it and tip it to themselves. We don't know if they can't get to the ball because they're potentially being interfered with. But it's also valid to say maybe the ball wasn't catchable in the first place. There is no perfect way to resolve what is currently happening in the NFL with penalties that we do not think are penalties. There is no magic sauce. There is no secret recipe. The best that we can do is better train the NFL officials and institute a system where they're able to communicate with officials, whether it be in New York or whether it be in the stadium on replay, to get the call right if it was missed right away on the field. And we have seen that. We have seen in the NFL, flags are thrown and flags are picked up because somebody buzzes the official and says, nope, it wasn't actually that. And the right call is made. We are on the right path to making this better. This isn't something that can be 100% fixed because you can never take the human error element out of something that involves human judgment. And that's okay. The human error element is part of this game. It has been for a very long time. I appreciate Jim Irsay coming up with a sensible and logical idea. He doesn't get a lot of them. They don't come to him all the time. But this one wasn't bad. But to his sensible and logical idea, all I have to say is we've seen it. We've seen it before. It wasn't great. So unless you have a way to make what we saw before better, I think you would just get the same thing again, and it wouldn't really help fix what the overall problem here is. But I digress when it comes to the Colts and Jim Irsay. Let's talk real quick about Chris Olave. Chris Olave is wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints. He's getting a lot of heat on social media. He was arrested recently for reckless driving. And during his arrest, the 23-year-old name dropped the fact that he was a player for the New Orleans Saints. How do we know this? Because TMZ has released body cam footage of the arrest, and he is on camera saying that he plays for the New Orleans Saints, and the arresting officer is on camera basically saying, and what's your point? So Olave is taking heat this morning because maybe he shouldn't have done that. Maybe he shouldn't have been dropping the fact that he was an NFL player to try to get himself out of a potential lawful situation. And I look at all these comments this morning and I say to myself, damn, it must be nice to put yourself on a perch above everybody else to the point where you would think that if you found yourself in a situation where you thought mentioning what you do in your career could get you out of it, you would choose not to. Because that's essentially what people who are criticizing Olave for this are saying. His job is his career, what he does to make a living, to support himself, to support his family. He plays football for the New Orleans Saints. That's his job. Just like your job might be being a teacher or a firefighter or a salesman. That's your job. That's what you do for a living. If you thought what your career choice was and currently is could get you out of a sticky situation, are you telling me you wouldn't just mention it? What's the worst that's going to happen? This was the worst. The police officer says, and that's it. Doesn't impact, doesn't get you out of it. It is what it is. Is it any different than the people who put the state trooper sticker on the back of their car to alert people that might pull them over that they potentially know somebody that is a state trooper or they know somebody with influence? Is that not the same thing? I'll tell you, it's not the same thing because that's not your career. That's you trying to use somebody that you know to get you out of a sticky situation. I would argue he wasn't even going that far. He was simply stating, I play in the NFL. And if the police officer decided to give him a break for that, it is what it is. Why are you going to fault someone for trying? Why are you going to fault someone for trying to get out of a tough situation? When I feel 90% of you out there, if you had the opportunity to drop what you do for a living to get you out of a ticket or an arrest, you would probably do it. So don't sit here this morning and throw stones at Chris Olave because he mentioned that he plays for the New Orleans Saints when he found himself in a tough spot. It's a 23-year-old kid who made a stupid choice, who was doing whatever he could in that moment to not get in trouble for the stupid choice that he made. I'm sure at 23 years old, a lot of you would have done something very similar. So please come off your perches this morning, come down here and join the morning show on this perch, and let's not be silly. Let's not be crazy about it. Let's wrap up this morning with this. You might call me insane. You might call me crazy, but I think the Minnesota Vikings are about to go on a run. If you look at the Minnesota Vikings this morning, going into week number 8, they are 3-4. A couple weeks ago, we wrote the Vikings off when the Vikings were 1-4, and I was one of them. I said the Vikings season is done. I said they should look into trading Kirk Cousins if he isn't going to be a part of the future of this team. I said everything should be on the table with the Vikings after a 1-4 start because the Lions were 4-1 and they were put in the division in the rearview mirror. It looked like Jordan Love was competent with the Green Bay Packers and they were going to be competing for a wild card. And I just didn't see any value in the Minnesota Vikings. Well, 2 weeks later, I will tell you that I was wrong. Now, I'm not saying the Vikings are going to turn into world beaters. I'm not saying the Vikings are going to contend for this division. But I will tell you, after back-to-back wins, the Minnesota Vikings at 3-4, the division is not out of reach. The Lions are only 5-2. But more importantly, I want you to understand what the Vikings' schedule looks like coming up. Because after beating the 49ers, here are their next handful of games. They play a division rival in Green Bay. If you haven't seen Jordan Love lately, he's looking like hot garbage. That is a winnable game, folks. They play the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons have a decent record in a horrible division. That's a winnable game. They host the New Orleans Saints. Please see what I just said for the Atlanta Falcons. Decent record, horrible division. They play the Denver Broncos. That's not a great team. They play the Chicago Bears. That's not a great team. They play the Las Vegas Raiders. That's not a great team. Those are their next 6 games. They're going to be favored in about half of those games, if not more. By the way, Justin Jefferson is not gone forever. He's going to be back at some point, most likely during that 6-game stretch. You lose Jefferson, but you find a way to win games. Now you come up to a part of your schedule where it's okay. You're going to be all right. They're probably going to win 4 or 5 of their next 6 games, at which point they're definitely in the wild card conversation. And depending on what Detroit does, they might be back in the division conversation. I'm not going to sit here today and say the 3-4 Vikings are going to make the playoffs. But I am going to sit here today and tell you that the 3-4 Vikings are going to make some noise over the next 6 weeks. And the next 6 weeks are going to tell you whether or not the Vikings are going to make the playoffs or not. Because if they win 4 of their next 6 or better, this is a potential playoff team once again. And I, like many of you, simply wrote them off too soon. Shout out to everyone who was in the chat this morning. Really appreciate all of you. Gene was in there. Freddie was in there. Key was in there. Who else was in there this morning? Was Kyle in there? Kyle was in there this morning. Jory was in there this morning. Linda was in there this morning. Appreciate all of you. I have a feeling we're going to be seeing a Freddie Facts at some point today or this week. And I hope it has Will on the show, because I would love to see Freddie and Will go at it in regards to the Los Angeles Lakers. Freddie was blowing up the comments this morning about our Laker talk. So be on the lookout at some point this week. I'm sure. I feel it in my bones. We're going to get ourselves a Freddie Facts that has to do with the Los Angeles Lakers. So be on the lookout for that. But also be on the lookout for the morning show, because we are back here tomorrow, same time, same place. We're going to break down Thursday Night Football. Mo will be back in the building. It's going to be a good time. Shout out to everyone who was joining us this morning, and we will see you right here, same time, same place, tomorrow morning. Until then.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, you guys any